Hey beauty squad, it's your girl TeeTee. Welcome back to my channel of all things life, love, and most important, beauty. I hope you guys are off to a great summer. The weather is nice, it's heating up. I just love the summer. My birthday is in August. It's a big birthday this year. Not sure what I'm going to do, but there will be a big bash to celebrate this upcoming milestone birthday. But today, I've said all year that I'm easing up on buying. My hair is like all over the place right now. I've said all year, it's just, we have the air conditioning on, so it's like blowing right over me. But anyway, I've said, I wasn't going to buy a lot of makeup this year. I was only going to purchase what I had to have, what I just need in my life. And I have pretty much stuck to my guns, and I'm very proud of myself. And as makeup releases come out daily, it seems like it's harder to resist certain things. And when you do give in to that resistance, I tell you, we buy because someone recommended it, or you like it, or the price is right, whatever the case may be. And you probably have the same thing, no matter what it is, right? Just someone else, a different brand is who makes it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not getting that. I already have that. I'm not getting that. I have that. So what I'm bringing you today are my suggestions to stop buying makeup you don't need, you're not going to use, because I guarantee that you already have it in your makeup arsenal. I'm telling you. And as I put this video together, I'm like, oh my God, I have to share this. I'm going to tell you, we buy the same things. It just, it might come from a different brand or a different shade or an undertone, but ideally it's the same product, just packaged differently, just marketed to us differently. So I have like 5 areas of beauty products that I think that we all could not buy. We just don't need, and I know you already have it, because I'm looking at what I have and I'm like, I already got that. Why did I buy that? It's just crazy. And I get it. I totally get it. Like I said, with launches coming out every day, and you're like, oh my God. And that it starts to add up. It gets costly. Makeup is not cheap. It's not expensive. It's probably, somewhere in the middle there. But you got to be cognizant, unless you've got endless dollars, that's one thing. But if you work like the rest of us, you're like, I don't need that, I ain't getting it. Just stop. So I'm going to give you guys 5 categories of beauty items, products that I think you need to stop buying. Just period, point blank, you need to stop buying. So before we get into it, my top 5 items y'all need to stop buying. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit the little bell so you know when my videos have been uploaded, and we can get this party started. So let's get into my top 5 beauty products y'all need to stop buying. Okay, y'all, so let's just get this party started. Top 5 beauty products y'all need to stop buying sooner than later. Number 5, setting sprays. Let's see what I have. D-Slick oil spray for oily skin. Slay All Day, which I love. MAC Fix Plus. I've got 2 or 3 of these. The Watermelon Glow Ultra Fine Mist from Glow Recipe. All great setting sprays. I have the Morphe one, mist setting spray too. All great setting sprays. They all serve the same purpose though. And I have yet to use this gold one from MAC. I can't even say I've used it. And if I have used it, It was probably just one time. This from Urban Decay, the D-Slick, and I almost bought the all-nighter the other day, and I'm going, I don't need that. But I do use this periodically. Does it work the best? No, it doesn't. MAC Fix Plus, a must-have, I think, for your collection. I don't care how many setting sprays have come out in this lifetime. In my opinion, there's not one that quite fits the bill quite like MAC Fix Plus. This from Gerard Cosmetics is a good one too. I've used this a few times. The Glow Watermelon Mist. This is a really nice fine mist, and it is the true definition of a mist. And at first I was carrying it in my purse, and then it just moved to my makeup table. And when I sit here and before I start my makeup, I'll spray my face with that, and I'll spray it afterwards. To me, this, in my opinion, really does nothing. It just hydrates my face slightly, and it smells really really good. But to me, I can't say I notice any difference at all. But again, I have 5 here, another one over there, and a Morphe one around here someplace, but I have 5. And as I mentioned, I only use one. Now I go through Fix Plus, and this is more than halfway done, so I'm probably going to need another one in about maybe a couple of weeks. Number 5, setting sprays. Number 4, brush sets. I am not one to buy brush sets or a multitude of brushes. Don't get me wrong. I have brushes up the yin yang. They're coming out of my ears at this point. But unless you are a professional makeup artist, you don't need a brush set. And I see brush sets come out all the time. Sonia G, Wayne Goss, Sonia Kashuk. I mean, everyone has, a brush set. You're only, again, if you're not a professional makeup artist, you probably don't need a brush set or so many brush sets. The more commonly brushes that I use are right here by me. These. I have crease brushes, plenty of crease brushes, blending brush, the 217 from MAC, probably one of the best blending brushes ever created. I mean, a pencil brush from MAC. I mean, a very small crease brush because I have hooded eyes, and this really kind of gets in my crease without really blending all the colors together that I don't want blended together. Powder, contour, blush. That's it. Oh, and what I use to apply my setting powder on my face. And a lot of these brushes, I take care of my brushes and I clean them pretty regularly. At least, once a week, I clean my brushes to keep them from fraying or, the hairs from shedding and things like that. Plus, I buy good brushes. You've heard me speak of, I have Chanel brushes, I have MAC brushes. Don't get me wrong, I have a couple Morphe brushes, but to me, they don't compare to, I can only compare it to MAC or Chanel or Smashbox. I have several brushes from Smashbox that I use and I love, and they work just fine too. So, again, I would steer clear of brush sets unless you're a professional makeup artist. You just need you do need good brushes though, and I'm an advocate of good brushes. Because makeup, as I mentioned earlier, is not cheap, it's not expensive. But to apply it and to get it the way you want it to look, you need good quality brushes. So, number 4, brushes. Number 3. Some of y'all might not like this. Oh well. Setting powders. If y'all knew, and when I say setting powders, I mean baking powders, setting powders, whatever kind of powder you use, you need on your face. I have them. We can only get through so many powders. Huda Beauty. I have Blondie and Kunafa setting powders, okay? Why? I have Fenty Banana and Hazelnut. Love both of these. I have one from Chanel, a translucent powder. You gotta have the Big Daddy, Laura Mercier. I have her regular, her original translucent, medium deep. I even have the glow one that I don't even use. I have the glow one from her that came out, I think, last year. The top is colored a little differently than the other ones. I had to have it, and I've probably only used it maybe once or twice. It's a great powder. It's a great powder. I also have a powder here from Sasha, Hourglass, The Veil, which I love, Beauty Bakery, which I love, and Kat Von D. Why so many setting powders? And they're still coming out with more setting powders. You know, you have brands that are expanding, you know, their shade range of colors, but setting powders, and they all serve the same purpose, right? I started off with the Sacha Buttercup, and then I graduated to Laura Mercier, and I probably could have stopped right there. No, not TeeTee. That's when I went to Fenty, and then Huda, and then Hourglass. All great powders. My favorite powders is probably the Fenty, the Chanel, and the Huda. And of course, Laura Mercier. Well, hell, all of them at this point, because the Hourglass one is good too. So for baking or setting, how many setting powders do we possibly need? Stop buying setting powders. I have so many here, I probably won't get through all of them. And it's a shame, because I think they're all really good in their own way. And we can argue all day. They're different. They might be different because of the texture, or some are finely milled than others, but at the end of it all, it's still a setting powder. Sorry, y'all. It's still a setting powder. It doesn't matter how you say it, girlfriend. It's still a setting powder. Setting powders, you only need a couple. Number 3, setting powders. Now, these top 2, y'all might really be mad at me. As a matter of fact, y'all gonna be mad at me, and I'm sorry, but I gotta do it, right? For your pocketbook, for your credit card balances, I gotta do it. Number 2, Jesus Christ, highlighters. Highlighters. How many highlighters do we need? Do I need? So in my opinion, Becca makes some of the best highlighters. Or, you know, before highlighters became highlighters, she made some of the best highlighters. I mean, I have the Prosecco Pop I bought. You know, it's pretty. Do I use it a lot? Doesn't look like it. But it's pretty, and I had to have it. Oh my God. So since highlighters have become such a thing that we don't need them all, especially the individual ones, you know, from, I have, you know, Becca here, Hourglass highlighters, Fenty highlighters, Marc Jacobs highlighters, and the Grand Poobah, in my opinion, of highlighters, Amrezy. I mean, this highlighter, I mean, this really just kind of shut it down. And this is one that I use for special occasions. So Amrezy, if you're watching, you're good enough to just only be a special occasion with all high-end makeup that I use on that particular day, you know, wherever I'm going. I mean, MAC has highlighters. Oh, let's not forget liquid highlighters. I have the Hyper Real Foundation from MAC. I have Drops Rose Gold from Cover FX, and Drops from Tom Ford. All highlighters. How many highlighters do we need? And to make matters worse, then they started combining highlighters, which is why I'm telling you, you don't need highlighters anymore. You look at, I'm just going to use Natasha Denona. as an example. And it's only because I have 2 palettes from her that combine a combination of things. And I tell you, this is why we don't need individual highlighters, I'm going to say, anymore. Oh, damn it. I hope it didn't break. Jesus Christ. No, it didn't. Not that I was going to use it, but it didn't break. But anyway, Natasha Denona, it might have been early this year, came out with the Blush and Bloom palette, which I love. Everyone likes this palette. So, as she named it, Blush and Glow palette. And what does highlighter do? Glow. Why we don't need it? Because guess what? There's a highlighter in here. There's a highlighter right there in it. You can swirl your brush in and get it all in one shot. Not only does Natasha come out with this, which I love, few months later, she comes out with a Bronze and Glow palette, right? And what's in this? Highlighter. Highlighter. Which is why we don't need individual highlighters, in my opinion. There's some nice loose highlighters out there. The Makeup Shayla, the Jackie Aina collaboration with Artist Couture. There's definitely some good ones. And when you're traveling, because they come in just like little small jars, they're great to travel with. But like these two, man, these are in heavy rotation with me. And I just got this and reviewed this recently, and I absolutely love this. But you know, again, it's got a highlighter and it's got a bronzer. An honorable mention would be bronzers. How many bronzers do we need? Oh my God, I'm not going to even get started on bronzers. But they are an honorable mention because everybody has bronzers. And again, in this palette, you quite honestly could get a bronzer, probably a blush and a highlighter, all in the same palette. All in the same palette. I mean, what more do you need? Even as I look at this Hyper Real Glow from MAC, this is the peach one, shimmy peach that came out a few months ago, and I love this. I used it just yesterday. Again, it's another highlighter. We have so many highlighters, but I think now when you start thinking of highlighters and you're going to palettes like this, because now everyone's coming out with, you know, highlighters in eyeshadow palettes or contour palettes. There's a highlight, it's like a highlight craze. No need to, I'm not saying you can't use what you already have, but use what you already have and just don't buy any more. That was number 2. Number 1, I think y'all really not gonna like me. Lord Jesus. Do I dare say this? And I am going to. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say eyeshadow palettes. How many eyeshadow palettes do we need in this lifetime? This year, I'm going to show you the palettes I have purchased this year. This most recently, Sunrise, Proceed with Caution. Let's see, It's My Pleasure, ColourPop, Skin Deep from NARS, and Colored Rain, Safari Rain. These are what I have purchased, I believe, if memory serves me right, so far this year. Only 5. That's actually pretty good for me, and I'm going to tell you why that's good for me. This one was $48, okay? Colors in here, absolutely stunning. I bought this because there's colors in here that I may not have necessarily normally used, but it got me out of my comfort zone. It's My Pleasure from ColourPop. This was what, $12? And that's how ColourPop gets you though. It's a pretty purple and pink palette. I love this palette. It was $12. I've used it a handful of times. NARS Skin Deep. Here we go, ladies. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pretty neutral palette. How many neutral palettes do we need? There's so many neutral palettes that have come out. You know, the new nude and everyone's got a bronze, everyone's got, you know, something that is very nude or neutral because they know that's what a lot of people like, but we're buying the same colors over and over again. You know what else I bought this year too was It's My Ray Ray palette. I did buy that, this one, her round 2, and it's a pretty palette. Again, you know, sometimes cost gets you, because this was only $17, and that's where I'm kind of like, you know, we have to stop doing that simply because of the price, because something is inexpensive. Now, did I have colors in this palette that I already have? Probably, but what got me is it was $17. So, and I like the palette, so I bought it. Proceed with Caution came out just a couple months ago. You know, everyone's into yellows. Haven't touched, I did use that yellow once. This palette I've used just a handful of times. I didn't like it like I did Perception, but I still use it. And guess what? I brought the whole kit, which was 50 bucks. The palette itself was $17, right? And then there's Natasha Denona, right? So this palette, you know, is the opposite of her Sunset palette, which is absolutely beautiful. This was $65. I didn't give this the best review. I didn't dislike it. Didn't like it like everybody else did, but I like it. I'm wearing it today. So, you know, do we really need all the eyeshadow palettes that we have? Because they're inexpensive. They're $12 or $17. There's not a lot of people who are going to spend 120 plus bucks on Natasha Denona and Pat McGrath palettes. And I get it, because there's a steep price tag attached to those palettes. That deters a lot of people, which is why she cut the price in half with this. And I think a lot of people got this. So I like it. I don't love it, but it's probably, looking at some of these colors that I already have, but because it was $65, the packaging was different, I'm like, okay, I'll get it. But you know, there's several palettes I've passed up this year, several from ColourPop, 2 from Anastasia, the Riviera and the Alyssa Edwards one. Passed on both of those. Let's see, a couple from BH Cosmetics I passed up on. You know, because my thought or my theory is, you know, some of the palettes are all starting to run together and look alike, right? Everyone has, yellow seems to be the go-to color in the last several months. And, you know, some are very cost effective. You know, again, I say ColourPop, great product, great quality, great pigment, but they get you with the price. You're like, man, it's only $12. Man, it's only $17. But I guarantee you have something just like it in your arsenal of makeup already. And that leads me back to where I started January of this year, why I'm not buying as much makeup as I normally do, because to me they're all starting to run together and look alike, and I'm like, oh my God, I can pass on that. I can pass on that. There's been some great things that have come out, and I've passed on a lot of them because I'm like, I don't really need it. I already have something similar to that. So when you take a really good look at what you have and what you don't use regularly, you already have, because you're like, oh my God, this looks just like this. Oh, I also bought the Natasha Denona Biba palette, her version of a nude palette, another nude palette. You know, again, you know, brands or companies know that a lot of women like nudes. It's natural looking for those who don't want to venture into a lot of color. I completely get that 100%, but it's gotta stop. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And let me tell you another, going back to the highlighter, Cover FX, their blush, monochromatic blush duo has a highlighter. Highlighter, just, it was sitting right here, so I thought I'd mention it. But you know, for the sake of, you know, saving a few dollars, you know, stop buying the same stuff. Stop buying the same neutral palettes, just a different time of year that, you know, comes with it. And to what has really helped me in using a lot of my makeup is, you know, everything that I use every week is right here. But now I rotate those products. I switch out the eyeshadow palettes. You know, my concealers and foundations pretty much stay the same. I switch them up all the time. But eyeshadow palettes, blush palettes, you know, palettes I bought last year or the year before that I don't use now sit right here. So now I can use those palettes more regularly because you'll never get through. I'm not even close to hitting the pan on any of my eyeshadow palettes because I need to filter through what I have. Everything that's coming out is something I already have. Another idea to stop buying, you know, so many palettes is buy the little individual pans. I bought some. I started with this little eyeshadow quad from Anastasia, and I started, you know, with these two neutral here. So this is probably just going to be something neutral. I can build it myself. That way, you know, you can control what you want in the palette, you know, versus you look at a 15 pan palette. If you can't get 5, 7, 10 looks out of this palette, or even just 3 or 4, then you don't need it. You're like, no need in buying a palette for 2 or 3 colors. You need to utilize the whole palette, you know, at some point. And I get it. You're like, I'll just blend it. And most of the time you don't even touch it. So that's my thoughts, y'all. Eyeshadow palettes included. And I love eyeshadow palettes, but they're all starting to look the same to me. I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but those are my top 5 things. Honorable mentions, you know, for bronzers, because you need to stop buying bronzers. You know, my top 5 makeup products. You know, we need to just stop the madness. You know, stop, you know, from buying, you know, setting sprays. Brush sets, setting powders, highlighters, and all these eyeshadow palettes. So those are my top 5 for you guys. Let me know what you guys think. What you're going to stop buying. If you agree with me or if you don't agree with me, please let me know in the comment section. I would love to hear what y'all have to say. Because I know some may agree, and I know that there's some that are not going to agree. But let me know what you guys think. Until next time, your girl TeeTee is out with stuff I ain't buying no more. Bye.